to know them. We'll do like a little icebreaker. So we're going to do like a fire round. First question, I'm going to start with Greg, and this is for everyone. So what was your first job ever?
My first job ever was delivering the little postcards that real estate agencies had from the MLS. And this is back in the 1960s. And there was an office in Northeast Philly called Town and Country. And the guy would have piles of them, piles with rubber bands. And he would drive us out to Levittown or Bensalem. And we would hand them out door to door, and he would follow us around in his car to make sure we didn't throw them out down the sewer or something. And then, you know, we'd be home by noon and make $5 each. That was my first job, giving out real estate tours. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, Butter, how about you? What was your very first job?
She's on mute.
Yeah, Butter, she's on mute.
You're on mute, buddy. You got to unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
There you go. Up.
Thanks. There you go.
I didn't know I was in charge of that. Got that. I created my first job. I was sick. And I had a wagon. And I went around the neighborhood and collected glass bottles and took them back to Nick's store at the corner of Loretta and Ron and collected 10 cents, 5 cents, and a penny per bottle and saved my money. So it started very young.
Awesome. That's very cool. Okay, Allan, how about you?
I was 5 years old, and I was lived in an apartment building with my parents and my brother, 800 square feet. In fact, the rent was $100 a month. And I would go on the corner with my brother when I was 5 and shine shoes for 25 cents a shine.
Nice.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, Bill Festa, how about you? You're on mute.
Yep, I used to deliver papers. I was a newspaper boy for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Out on the streets at like 5:30 in the morning, did 2 routes, and I think I made about $26 a week for 2 routes.
Wow. Very
That's
cool.
pretty good.
That was a lot of
Very
money.
cool. Yeah. Okay, Heather, how about you? What was your very first job?
I actually walked dogs, and I used to walk Ron Castiel's dog.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Okay, Frank, how about you?
The first decent job I had, I was a flag boy down at the Vet Stadium in the parking lot. And we'd get there about 4 hours before a Phillies game and sit in the parking lot and cook under the sun and then start flagging cars in. But the greatest part about it is we would get a pass so we can go into the stadium to watch anything and at any time. So it was a good job.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, Lindsay, how about you?
If you grew up in Oregon, you would get up at 5 in the morning on about the 3rd day of summer. Your parents would give you a couple of days off. Then you would get up, you would go stand on the corner, and a raggedy old bus would come pick you up and take you out to some berry field. And you would be picking strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, whatever was in season. You'd be out there all day, your little frozen can of Shasta would be just about ready by lunchtime. You'd make about $6, and then you would come back on the bus and you would stop by Arctic Circle and you would spend $5 of the $6 you made that day. That was my first job.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, Mike, how about you?
Self-employed, 8 to 11, raking leaves, shoveling snow, selling pretzels, carrying bags at the A&P, and then 12 to 17 in an Italian restaurant.
Wow, very cool. Okay, now we're going to go to Bill Festa. Where are you? Okay, so Bill, you are PAR president, and you were GPAR president in 2008. So tell me, how is this similar or different to 2008, what we're going through now?
Oh, everything is totally different. You're experiencing a different. All of us are really going through a whole different scenario. We've never experienced anything like this before. So compared to 2008 was a cakewalk. But that was our 100th anniversary year. So that was interesting. It was a fun year. Now I'm not having so much fun, but a lot's getting done.
Okay. All right, I'm going to stay with you for a minute. So a recent study said 64% of buyers and sellers state that agents should understand state and local protocols for COVID-19 safety and provide guidance. 63% of buyers and 64% of sellers say that if someone in the home is not following the health protocols during a visit, they expect the real estate agent to address it. How can we build consumer confidence? And you're on a statewide, so what are you seeing different things in different parts of the state?
Well, the only difference we were seeing
Different
is because some states were red. Some counties were red, some were yellow. But pretty soon we're all going to be yellow. But what we are hoping is that real estate agents set the example. We've produced some guidelines, some best practices, which I hope all of you have a copy of how to go on a listing presentation, how to show a buyer, and just like 4 or 5 different scenarios. But yes, the people, I'm surprised it's only 64%. I would expect 100% of the people, after we've lobbied to get the state open to real estate and to say that we can do it safely, I think that we need to do that and wear our masks, sanitize as we touch things, not let more than 3 people in the property at one time, including that would include the sellers and the real estate agents. And here's the biggest thing, and I don't want to take too much time. We are probably going to have a fall outbreak. And what we're going to be doing now as real estate agents and listing agents is we have to prove to the governor that we can do this safely. So we said we could do it. We're now out there, and if a fall breakout comes and we have not followed the rules and are getting cited and reported, then more than likely we will be shut down again. So we have to basically be on our best behavior to make sure that the market does, or that we are considered essential, and if this outbreak does come again.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess, what are you telling your agents? How are you telling them to prepare for, working in the new normal and what could be coming down the line in the fall?
Yeah, well, that probably would be a better question for somebody else. I don't, I have a couple of licensees, but I'm really the only agent, so I talk to myself.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go to Mike. I'm going to ask you that question. So Mike, after hearing what Bill just said, what are you telling your agents, how to prepare today for real estate? And after what Bill just said, I think we all kind of feel that way. We hear the news, and there could potentially be another outbreak, in the fall. How are you guiding your agents? Because you have a pretty big team.
We are the licensed professionals. We are the gatekeepers. Can you hear me? Okay. We are the licensed professionals. We are the gatekeepers. It is our responsibility. If people are not complying, we need to say that. We can't be, scared we might offend somebody. We have to say it in a polite way. We have to, we have booties, the gloves, the sanitizer, the masks, having sellers leave their doors open, trying, to minimize touching, comply with the laws, and then some. This is all about health, safety, and there's a lot of fear in the environment. Yes, there's a percentage of the population that could, that doesn't care. Just because they don't doesn't mean that you don't comply with the law. So listen, I've been advocating with all of you to get us open because housing is essential and we are licensed professionals. So if we don't comply with the law and get our clients to do that, then we shouldn't be open. So, you know, the problem is you get somebody makes a mistake and then it blows up. So all of us have to comply with the law to be on our best behavior, to protect the health and safety of our people, ourselves. I don't want to bring it home to my family. I mean, so it's fundamental. So, but it is really important. You can't, you know, sometimes people run around in the house before this. No, you have to control the environment and make the conditions up front. But it's very, very important. So I'm just grateful we're open because I do believe 99% of everyone here will comply, make their clients comply, and people can buy and sell. You know, we don't need to do open houses. We don't need to do brokers' lunches. We don't need to leave flyers in the house. Zoom is unbelievable. I mean, we can weed them down on Zoom now. I mean, it's the best thing that ever happened. It's like the internet. Like before the internet and after the internet, that's how great Zoom is. So that's what I'm telling people. I mean, my agents, that's what we're doing.
Right. Great. Okay, so how are you personally handling the pandemic with your home life and work life? How is that working?
You talking to me?
I'm talking to you,
Seth,
Mike.
who you
Yeah,
talking
I'm
to?
talking to you, Mike. You're on still. So
Okay.
yeah,
How am
I'm
I
talking to
handling?
you, Mike. That was for
I
you.
I'm driving. Okay, sorry. For the past 2.5 months, I mean, I've been working 8:15 to 8:15. Been driving everybody crazy because I'm so loud on these Zoom calls. Now that I'm out, I've relieved them. But we quarantined. I didn't leave my house for 2.5 months. I mean, even groceries we would have delivered. We've quarantined. But I say I've never worked so much. I'm like forgetting lunch with all these Zooms, alleviating the fear of my clients, alleviating the fear of agents or clients that are having problems. But also learning. We took this as an educational experience to do all the things that we never had the time to do. Our contact systems, our Zoom, our marketing. So we did a lot of education during this time. But as far as for safety, we've been fundamentalists. We've been very strict in going out. Now I'm going out, but with all the safe conditions. I went on 3 listing appointments today. So it was a great day. It's so weird. I got to tell you, it is so weird, going in there. That's pretty much it. Anyway.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, Frank, over to you. So Frank, you were GPAR president in 2000. And where are you? Okay, so my question to you is, do you think the value of an agent has increased during this pandemic? And how do you think they have become more relevant and of value?
It's an interesting question, and piggybacking on what Mike McCann said about educating your clients, educating yourselves and as agents and your people that you work with, the more we do to safeguard and protect the clients, the more professional we're going to look. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of an emergency rescue worker coming to your home, but when they come to your home, they just totally take charge. They tell you where to go, what to do, who to call, where to sit. I mean, they take total charge of the situation. And I think we need to be that way on showings or when we're entering into a client's home. Take total charge, act the role, be the professional that we know we are, and just guide the consumers through this experience of how we're going to show their home, how we're going to work with buyers and show them homes. And I think that will just elevate our profession even more. I've said for a long time, the more complicated this transaction becomes, the more the public needs us. So many times agents will bitch and moan about a new form, or now today we have these 2 COVID forms on top of the consumer notice and the buyer agency contract. I mean, technically, when you first meet that buyer, now there's 4 forms you need to be signed outside. So what does that do? It elevates our profession. If you stick to your guns, you do your job the way it's properly supposed to be done, the public sees that and they see you as a true professional and worth every penny that they're paying us.
Awesome. Well said. Okay, Heather, on to you. It is Thursday. Thank you for that. So this
I'm going to
question
miss
is
making
for-
my backgrounds.
Well, this question's all you. So have you done much virtual real estate work? How did it go? And what are the lessons learned?
Lessons learned are make sure that you have checked the camera before you turn it on. All right. Make sure you've looked around and make sure everything was okay and that doors and windows are shut and things are turned off that shouldn't be on, and that you flushed before you started the mic. Absolutely. 100%. You know, 100% make a background so that way your head looks like it's floating. So, you know, you really can't see the flashing bar behind me. So just as a heads up, have I done? Absolutely. I'm almost coming to the point where I'll say to my clients, great, we saw the house, of course, with my mask on, we saw the house. Now get in your car and I'll Zoom you and we can talk about it. Because buyers are still getting used to the showing way where they want to sit there and talk about the house. And you're like, stay 6 feet away from me. I'm going to have to, you know, zap you or something. You know, and it's almost like I feel in some cases when you're showing a house that people are watching, you know, like neighbors are watching to see if you're, you know, leaving your mask on, or you walking out of the house without you know, spraying your hands. And so I almost feel like it's an education. And I've had more Zoom meetings about what's going to take place because Frank is right. You know, we're the first line, we're out there. And I had a client whose mask fell down below their nose. And I said, put that up, put it up. You know, no, put that glove back on. Now that you've touched your purse, I'm going to have to squirt you with hand sanitizer, you know?
Oh,
so they're getting used to it. And it's kind of hard too, where we went from making an appointment at last minute to no, you can't make a last minute change. You know, if you're late, that's it. We've missed our window of opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have to go on to something else. So the things I've learned is I actually do like Zoom. I've liked Zoom for quite a while. I think it's a great way to sit down and review documents. Instead of meeting a client at the office and staying there until 9 or 10 o'clock at night, I'm at home and we're reviewing the documents on the screen together. I know what they're looking at because I'm pointing to it. You know, I've done several listing contracts this way and reviewed several documents. So I'm definitely keeping this virtual reality lifestyle. You just have to keep reminding yourself that when you talk to clients that, you know, hey, we're going to meet up. You make sure you insert virtually into that. You know, some of them still think we're going to be at their house. So it's a little different. It's been interesting.
Well, you're doing a great job, and we always love your backgrounds. They're always so fun. Okay, Butter.
It's a party today.
It's a party today. I like that one. That's very cool. Okay, Butter, hello. Are we?
Hey, Steph.
Butter?
She on mute again.
Hi, Butter. No, we got her. We're good. How are you, Butter?
You got me.
You're good.
I'm good, Stephanie.
Okay.
How are you doing? You're doing a great job.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Oh, we're
You and Matt
we're
have been
plugging along. So okay. So Butter, tell me, how long have you been in real estate?
started selling in April 3rd of 1979. So I guess
Okay.
it's 41 years. Yep,
Wow.
long time.
Okay. So a long time. So approximately how many downturns in the market have you been through in real estate?
So I guess the first one was the S&L crisis in '87. That was scary. As a new business person, I found that very scary, but we came out of it. I guess the next big one, I think there were some minor recessions between the S&L crisis and what happened in '06, '07, '08. and then this. So although there have been some, there was, do you guys remember when there was the $10,000 home buyer program, 10, 15 years ago, and it dried up in June of that year and the faucet turned off? What year was that? I don't remember the year.
Oh,
but
wait.
that was a, 08. Was that 08 when the,
Yeah,
when
08
the,
or 09.
they just
Again.
shut it down?
Another year that Bill
Was that
ruined it, I'm telling you.
So this is the third big one, and it's just very, very different. Very, very different.
Okay.
It's a people business, and I guess for me, the hardest part is not seeing my kids, not seeing my grandson, not seeing my coworkers. So in spite of the fact that it's scary with people dying, it's a huge social shift. And so that's been hard. That's been a hard adjustment. I have to adjust to that every day. But overall, I've never enjoyed a spring more than this spring, getting out every day and walking and learning technology. But to get back to your question, I've been through 3 fairly difficult recessive periods in the business. And we survived them all. We have survived them all, and we will survive this.
Okay, so let's talk about Philadelphia market. How do you see the real estate prices in Philadelphia going forward? Do you think they're holding, declining, or increasing? And let's talk pre-COVID and COVID.
Is that my question, Stephanie?
That's your question, better.
Stephanie,
Yeah.
is that question for me? Okay. Based on what I'm hearing and reading and seeing, we may have a minor drop in some prices in some locations, but either I'm just an optimist or I'm in denial. But I honestly believe Philadelphia will stay strong, will recover. I think it's entrepreneurial. I think that we have multiple businesses and economies in this city that will hold. I think we have a lot of work structurally to do, and I pray we do that structural work needed for all citizens of Philadelphia. But I feel that we'll recover from this within 1.5 to 2 years. I don't think this is going to be a long recovery. But I'd love to hear how other people feel about that. But that's what I think, Steph.
Okay.
Prices will not, I don't
that.
think prices will ultimately fall. I don't think prices will fall ultimately in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Okay, Lindsay, this
Yes.
one's for you. So you were president in 1999, and you were the turn of the century. It was Y2K, right? So you went through, you had 9/11, you had the Great Recession, and now we have the pandemic. So as far as financial wellness, what did you learn and implement in the past that is helping you financially? And what advice would you give agents?
Thank you. Actually, I feel a little bit too well suited to answer this question, because I got slammed in 2008. And one of the things that I think I did very poorly in 2008 was I pulled some ostrich mentality, and I just kind of stuck my head in the sand and waited for it to go away. It wasn't going away. So when I should have been taking out my pencil and cutting costs and saying, you know, the market has gone away. I've built a dinosaur. Now I've got to feed the dinosaur. I kept on trying to feed the dinosaur. You gotta say, okay, let's go into the office today with the attitude that I'm going to cut 10%. And then the next day you go into the office with the attitude, I'm going to cut 10%. You just adjust to the market. You both accept it. You don't fight it. And you say, here is the new reality. And I have got to make myself lean and mean so that I'm going to survive this. So this time around, As soon as they went for the shutdown, I'm calling my landlord saying, hey, you know, I don't know how much longer we're going to be working on this present lease situation, so let's negotiate that. Call my copier guy, call my service contracts, basically reduce my expenses by about 50% in the first week that between March 13th and March 20th. That I was pretty happy with myself about. And then the other half of that is that I personally did not stress the way that I stressed in 2008. I mean, and when I say I stressed in 2008, it was like, oh my God, the sky is falling. And this time I just kind of had a realization that whether or not the sky is falling, there's not a whole lot I can do about it. So just take a chill pill, write it out, and know that I'll be, you know, I will be okay on the other side.
I like that. Very good. Okay, Allan, this one's for you. All right, so you heard Butter's response on the market, and you, you know, have a greater view of the city, of the economy, and the small businesses, and how it affects, you know, fundamentally real estate. How do you think real estate can help the overall economy recovering?
You're on mute, Al.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right.
Becky doing a
All
great
right,
job
one more
as our
time.
president.
How can real
And I got it. So here's my answer. First of all, I want to mention to Butter, you may not remember Butter, but I started in December of '79. I'm almost as old as you were in real estate. And we had 19 and 20% interest rates in '81 and '82. Just think about that. Think how lucky we are today. The home we sold back then for $250,000 had the same payment as the home you sell today for $1 million. I mean, talk about affordability. It's unbelievable. So, look, I think the answer to the market is that the market is a little complex. Different markets, different issues. If we're talking Center City is very dependent on lifestyle, very dependent. So, you know, when I was president of GPAR, I always used to say, we're not just the voice for real estate, we're the voice for the future of Philadelphia. And the whole city works together with real estate. We need restaurants open, we need retail open. And I'll give you an example why I say that. I've had several older people, over 70 years of age, call me recently. I'd say there's 10 or 15 people in the last 4 weeks who've said to me, hey, Allan, I don't want to be in Philadelphia anymore. I said, why? I have a home at the shore, or I have a home in Florida. My wife's compromised. We can't walk out of our building, okay? We have to wear a mask. We're touching elevator buttons and in lobbies. When we walk out, the restaurants are closed, the retail's closed. We have to wear masks. We don't want to live like that anymore. That's a bit of a concern. We have to get that lifestyle piece back functioning. But on the other hand, younger people are still in the city. They're still buying. I do think there's an issue right now with vacancies as far as rental apartments are concerned because we don't have the demand from colleges. But we really need to get our total economy, and we need to call this a smart restart. And I know Mike is on this, and he's been pushing us, and he's right to be pushing us. And unless we can get everything going at one time, real estate doesn't operate in an island. People want to live in locations because of the amenities, at least when I'm talking Center City, even in the Northeast or in Northwest, wherever. They want the amenities and the lifestyle. And I'll give you an example of what's happening. And this is not just happening in Philadelphia, it's happening in New York. A friend of mine's a broker in Bluebell. He told me 2 weeks ago he had over 83 phone calls in a week for a 3-bedroom rental townhouse, all from Philadelphia. Now, I think that's short term, but I think it's something we have to keep our eyes open to. So here's, you know, I don't want to belabor this, but we are working now on getting streets closed for restaurant seating and bringing hospitality back. We need to bring that hospitality back. That is the key driver for Philadelphia.
So that was one of my questions.
To Butter. You remember the article? Let me just mention this. I'm taking councilmanic prerogative, okay? 1992, and I think that Lisa Silveri and Greg mentioned this, the RTC, the Resolution Trust Corporation, came into effect. So I'll let someone else explain that. Go ahead, Stephanie.
No, I was just going to ask you, you know, that was one of the questions I had for the mayor yesterday. What can GPAR do to help, you know, with the businesses? You know, you talked about streets being blocked off for the restaurants. He talked about the Play Street program for the kids. You know, the pools and the rec centers are all closed down. So I guess what could real estate, what could GPAR members do to help out the city?
The more we can work with our small businesses and help them get restarted and support them, it's crucial because we all work together. People want to live in certain sections because of the amenities of those areas. And so the more we can work with businesses and get it back on track and get it up and running, it is key. We're all in this, it's a connecting wheel. We're not going to be able to move real estate if things are shut down. Even if we can go show things, people aren't going to want to buy things in areas that are not reopened quickly. So we have to get that going. And I'm not sure it's going to happen overnight, but I am pushing for it to happen in a smart way.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so Allan, we can all feel your passion for this position that you were in. At what point did you realize you wanted to do something more than real estate? You wanted to pivot from real estate and go into city council?
You know, I really didn't, I'll tell you what happened to me. I was president in 1990. And by the way, I'm looking at this Zoom call and saying to myself, how the hell did I become the oldest president that's on this Zoom call? I was president in 1990. I don't think anyone was president before then. All of a sudden you wake up, Bill Festa, and say, how did this happen? I was the youngest president back then. Anyway, I think 2011, I get a phone call from Al Perry and Kurt Gasper, two former presidents. Al's now our treasurer. And they said to me, hey, we want you to come back to be president of the board. I said, I really don't want to do it, but GPAR was good to me. And I said, okay. Came back, became president in 13, 14, and 15. And then I realized that city needs, I thought at that time, a business person's perspective. Because the most important thing for all of us on this call is a healthy Philadelphia. We have nothing if this city is not healthy. We need the city to be healthy. So I said, you know what? I feel I can help the city. I like the challenge, and I'm going to tell you something. Your GPAR, I'm looking at the screen and saying to myself, wow, this GPAR organization has come so far. You have the president of PAR, Bill Festa. You have the former president of PAR, Frank Jacovini. You have like 10 presidents. We have you, Stephanie. We have Heather, who's our district vice president. Al Perry's our treasurer. And I will say this, under the leadership of Summer and Matt Braden, I think you have one of the best organizations of GPAR I've ever seen. And look at the leadership this organization has developed in the state of Pennsylvania. Pretty amazing. So hats off to all of you and kudos, really.
Good team.
Yeah, Matt and Summer, and I'm looking for Donna and Charlotte and Cheryl. You know, one person's success, it's not just one person, it's the team behind it. So they are
Absolutely.
they're rock solid. So yeah, kudos to them. Okay, so I am going to go to, let's see, Greg. Hey, Greg, how are you?
Hi.
Okay, so let me ask you, what have you done during this downtime for your business to stay centered, to stay connected with your family, and did you have any aha moments?
To stay centered, I have made sure that I physically stayed in shape. So in the morning after reading my newspaper, which was a routine for me at 6 in the morning, I would go right into a 20-minute yoga session. And that would just bring me right into the correct headspace. And since I have this 18-room house, and my kids are gone, I turned one of the rooms into a full gym. And so now I have this gym that works for me. And so I'm able to stay in shape and be able to be physical, because when you're stuck in the house, you have a tendency to be less active. And I have a lot of pent up energy, because I can see some faces here. I know people that are like that. So I have to burn that fuel off pretty early, and so that's one of the things. And in terms of the family, I make sure I'm on the phone with someone from my family, my kids, my parents, or whatever, every day. And I go shopping twice a week, which I know you're not supposed to do, but I go twice a week, and I put packages together for my parents, for my in-laws, for each of my daughters, and I run over to their houses, and I drop the packages on their door, and it'll be bread from somewhere in South Philly, and maybe some chicken cutlets from Matt's down the street, or whatever the case may be. Maybe some pasta from Toludo's. And so I run around and I pick up all of these things and I make these deliveries, and that sort of makes me feel like I'm able to help everybody out and give them like a little piece of something, so they don't have to leave the house. That's pretty much what it's been about.
Awesome. Any aha moments?
Yeah, and I don't remember exactly where it came from, but it came early. And but I think Lindsay or somebody said something about this earlier. It almost felt like I was in sort of going into a retirement mode. And so I've never really visioned myself as retiring. Again, I have all of that energy, but it sort of felt like what would happen in some years to come, what my retirement might look like. It might look like, getting on a Zoom meeting at 8 or 8:30 or 9 o'clock with someone, speaking with everyone on the team, communicating with people, but not necessarily having to leave the house to do it anymore. So that was kind of interesting to me to see that I could still sort of have one foot in the business, have some control, and I've given control of my team to someone else, about 50% of it, which has worked out really nicely. And but it's given me that moment where I can see, hey, this is kind of nice, where I can have a little bit more time to myself, and maybe I can do yoga every day and work out every day, maybe surf, and I still surf 2 days a week at least, or whatever the case may be, and still have a business to keep the brains going and to burn off the mental energy that I have. So
Cool. Very cool.
It's
Love
cool.
that you surf. That's great. That's very cool. Okay, so Lindsay, this one's for you. You talked about chilling out and just trying to ride it out. How do you stay calm while there's still so much uncertainty?
I find myself 75 days into this, still kind of asking myself, how come you haven't hit the panic button more, Because I won't tell you that I haven't had moments of anxiety, but they've been short-lived. And let me back up a little bit. I had an aha moment. I would say my first aha moment came about 10 days in, when I realized that I truly am a procrastinator by nature, because all of a sudden here I am presented with this. Okay, for all my life I've been saying, if I just had some time, out would come the great American novel, or this, or whatever was going to happen. And I had the time, and I didn't do a damn thing, and I didn't feel very guilty about it either. So I just kind of accepted that, okay, so you're not, you're at this point in your life, you're just kind of okay with where you are. So how did I not panic? It helps that I have, like Greg, a big house. And so my wife and I can, stay away from each other, see each other and stay away from each other enough to make it all tolerable. And my wife is a tenured professor at the University of Pennsylvania. So the mortgage payment gets covered. It's nice to have that, I've married very well in my life. So that's been one of the secrets to my success. Stephanie, I don't know how to answer you that question, but I have not had to worry about my kids, and I have not thought about myself. Maybe that's it. I have been very much concerned with the welfare of the rest of the world. And I have been oh so grateful to be in the situation I'm in, where there's food, there's shelter, and so I think that I've gotten a certain amount of comfort from both my empathy towards others and just my immense gratitude for being lucky enough not to have to worry about day-to-day survival.
Very nice. Very nice. Butter, I'm going to ask you the same question. How do you remain calm during so much uncertainty? What do you do to keep yourself centered?
Well, we're doing company meetings or team meetings almost on a daily basis. So staying connected is really important. That has helped me stay centered. I think one of my aha moments during this whole thing was I've been driven by deadlines for over 40 years. And I realized that that has helped drive me. But at the same time, it's a little unhealthy because I find myself without as many deadlines feeling a little lost. And I don't like how that feels. So I don't know how you guys feel about the deadlines and the lack of as many deadlines, but I feel fortunate also in that I'm at the age I am now and I am financially secure. I try to live a simple life. I'm not frugal per se, but have saved money and purchased assets when I had savings and have tried to be as careful as possible. So I think the message to agents in this business and to any of us going through it is to just remember to slowly but surely save your money. So when times like this come, you're not going to crash and burn. So the other thing we've done is every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, we try to do something holistic in the company on Zoom. So today there was a yoga lesson. We had a financial planner do a 1-hour session for our agents. We had a family therapist talk about, especially a family therapist who works specifically with kids, talk about what will the issues be and what was she seeing in her practice. So every Thursday we try to do something holistic for everyone. And just getting out and exercising and calling my clients. I think one of the other early questions was, what role do we play? What I found is my sellers and buyers wanted to know, what do we do and when do we do it? And they're reading the newspaper too, and lots of them said, look, I'd rather put this on hold till spring of 21. What do you think? So we're consultants, and we have to help people think it through, and we have to learn to listen. So the other thing that I did is like, I think, was it Mike who said this, or was it Greg who said this? I try not to let a day go by that I have not reached out to someone in my life who is special to me. I do go out with a mask and I do social distancing, but I try at least twice a week to meet with a friend in a park and take a good hour walk, a friend I haven't seen for a while. So I would encourage all of you to stay in touch with your friends and family members. I think it's great that Greg shops a couple times a week, as long as he's staying safe and wears his mask, and delivers food to his family. I mean, all these things help us stay connected. So thanks for asking the question, Stephanie. That's what I do.
Lovely. That was lovely. Thank you. Okay, Heather, how about you? Same question. How do you remain calm during this uncertainty? And do you have anything that you do?
Do you know me very well? I'm not calm. I'm not calm. This is crazy. It's insane. Let's be honest. I mean, you're all centered and yoga-fying. I mean, I took the first few days and had a mental meltdown. I'm going to be honest with you. I did. It was like he shut the doors. We couldn't go out. I couldn't put a lockbox. I couldn't put a sign. No matter what I could do, I couldn't take a sign off the property. I couldn't pull booties out of houses. No, I had a mental break. I had broke down. It was 2.5 days. I sat there going, what to do? I don't know what to do. So I made a list with my husband. I said, all right, we're going to clean out closets. This is what we're going to do. I made a list of all the repairs in the house we're going to take care of, and then I woke up one day, I said, screw it. I can figure this out. This is how we're going to do it. We're going virtual. I loaded Zoom up and then I took off from there. So he says, I've worked more now than I've done when I was allowed to go out and play with others, but it was literally, it was 48 hours of a breakdown of the world is ending. What do you mean I can't touch anything? How can I tell people I can't, touch anything? It was crazy. So that's where I broke. So that was my aha moment, is I can do this. I can figure this out. We'll make it work. We'll figure something out. That's when I moved out of my dining room and onto a permanent desk, because I figured, you know what, I'm not getting out anytime soon. Let's make this a real thing. So no, I don't have center. I don't have chi. I don't have zen. None of that stuff. And I drank more coffee in the last, 60 days than I've ever drank in my entire life, and Fireball. So that's how I try to get through it. And it was a lot of therapy. It was a lot of therapy. I mean, buyers who wanted to, buy properties who didn't understand why they couldn't, and every time the rules changed, and agents who were calling because they didn't know what to do, so it became therapy sessions for everyone, and even for myself. And I kept in contact with friends of mine through Zoom, just asking them what's going on. But I mean, I'm just going to be real. I had no center. I freaked out. It took me 48 hours, got through it. Managed to pull up my bootstraps and figure out what to do, how to make this work, and go on from there. My aha moment was, we can do this. We can go virtual. If this is what you're going to give us to work with, we're going to make it happen. And by watching the numbers, keeping people in check with the numbers, letting them know, listen, we're going to have properties that have been on the market for so many days, and we're going to have to remember this time frame, because then we're going back and forth between, Bright, no offense, Joy, love you, and Zillow, and days on market, and who's going to do what, and what does it mean. So it was a lot of education, and educating not just people, but myself on how to read the new numbers, because we would look at market stats and now they're way off. So now it's the new way to read the market stats. So yeah, sorry everybody. Yeah, no, there was no center of gravity.
Oh goodness. Okay, Mike, how about you? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Heather, with my relationship with Bright as on the board, we're getting these updates daily from Brian and Allan about the market. And I'm looking at, okay, here's what the market's doing in Maryland. Here's what the market's doing in Delaware. Here's what the market's doing in DC. And then I see, here's what the market's doing in Philly. And it looks like Nebraska. It's just flatline. And so it's like, okay, it's not the same everywhere, but as far as what it is here, they're all talking about this, that, and whatever. Lindsay, how things with you? And I'm just like, whistling past the graveyard. So I know what you mean. Yeah.
And it's something we're gonna look back on this, and we're gonna have to educate. We're gonna have to educate the consumers going forward when we're looking at sales prices that happened during this period of time. And when somebody says, well, the house has been on the market for 60, 70, 80 days. Okay, well, let's backtrack. 60 of those, we were all in lockdown. And if it was being shown, it wasn't supposed to be shown. So, oh, and by the way, the photos were taken by the homeowner with their camera, maybe their iPhone 4, I'm not quite sure, but they did the best they could. If you think about it, we did the best we possibly could to make it through those 60 days.
We did.
We're alive.
Absolutely
that's
did.
That's all I can say.
And we were selling real estate through it too. So, okay, yes. Mike, same question to you. What are you doing to remain calm during this uncertainty?
The moment that the night that they closed down the NBA and Tom Hanks' wife got it, I thought this is crazy. But that Saturday was when we had the quarantine. But on that Friday, the first thing I did was I reached out to all my clients. My daughter, who's my operation manager, helped me do a little video, and my message was things are going to change, and things are going to change. And right now, with this epidemic, Everybody's going to be home. And it was just more of a message of compassion, not business. If you need anything, let us know. We're going to be there. You know, we are going to get through this. I mean, to me, this is probably my, again, I'm June of '86, so not as much as some of the older ones, but I count about 6 downturns. But this, the way I summed up this one really was, I was around in the AIDS epidemic, and that was bad in Center City, and it was stigmatized. So people were scared, really scared on health issues. And then 9/11, people were really fearful. So it wasn't an economic downturn like the savings and loan or the dot-com bust or the 18. This was fear and health. So yeah, I've never taken a weekday off in my life. Never, ever, ever. You know, so for me to like, we're going to be shut down, freaked me out. But I knew what we had to do. Like I knew this was nothing I could control, like Lindsay said, and it was just a message of compassion. And now, you know, what are we going to do? So that was my immediate response, to just be compassionate and to help out. And then, you know, and it was tough because I'm used to all this stuff, but I ended up filling it up with Zoom, again, therapists. Yeah, I mean, people come. That's why I love being a realtor. Yes, we sell houses, but we are therapists, contractors, economists, tax guys, accountants. Again, we're not any of them. Okay, we're only realtors. You know, disclaimer. But people come to us for all types of advice and information. And I had never talked to so many people, but I did do a little video out first, and I got incredible response. But I was talking to people. It was actually a really neat time. You know what's funny? Again, so you know. Like if my team took off a day, like we never did that. So, but now we're two and almost 3 months later, we're going back. I'm like, you know, I kind of liked hanging out at home. I'm playing with, you know, like anyway. But so it was really, but it was changing environment. This, but I was, you know, the sky is not falling. We will recover. Focus first on health. Well, you know, we'll get back to business. Everybody pitched in, and that's really where it is. So I said when the pandemic, I said I was doing 100 push-ups a day for my New Year's. So I said I'm doing 250 push-ups a day. So I've been doing 250 push-ups a day. Okay, I lost like 9 pounds in my waist. I got abs back. Okay,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So but there's a lot of things. We are going to look back at this, and we do have to remember this. I do believe, I mean, we're booming right now. I don't know if it's just some pent-up demand. I mean, but there's a lot of people that lost their job. We're big in hotel, hotel, restaurant, and stuff. Like Allan said, we have to get people back. It's a lifestyle in the city. It's the jobs. I do feel bad for so many people that lost their jobs. And so people, and I'll stop talking in a second, but people started complaining. I said, I know, this is horrible. We have a home to live in. We have heat. We have central air. We have hot water. We have food. We're with our family. You know, like, cut me a break. Like, you know, there's 2 billion people that can't eat in this world. You know, so let's think about, let's be gratitude. And Lindsay said it, you know, very well. He's empathetic and grateful. And that's how we survive this. And like Heather said, we will prosper, man. We are entrepreneurs. We will find ways to make things work. So that's how I did it, with optimism. Like Butter said, I'm just totally optimistic, but I am, because it's been through there before. We will get through this slow and steady. Bill, I hope we don't have another one in the fall. God.
Oh, really?
I hope not too. Okay, Frank, how about you? Anything that you're doing to remain calm during this uncertainty? And
Well, you know, I learned a long time ago that if you plug away every day, you'll make a living. I started to stop worrying about each month and how many deals I've done, and come to the realization at the end of the year, it all panned out anyway. So that's one way I try to keep myself sane, by not really pressing so much and being really concerned. How did this week go? How did next week, what am I doing next week? I just found that through the years, if you keep working, and I think in this business, 85% of success is just showing up. Too many people think that they could just, in real estate, you make your own schedule and you got a lot of free time. Yeah, right. But you got to put your hours in, and you got to work, and you got to plug away, and everything basically will pan out at the end of the year. And I also found that you have to have some faith in a higher being, because sometimes things are just out of your control in life. And this is a perfect example of this pandemic. I found myself on the first night or two saying, what the hell am I going to do? Because I was never a big multi-producer. I made a living, and I made a comfortable living, but when you're faced with something like this and you're saying, wow, I could be out of an income for 3 or 4 months and my savings aren't going to last 4 months or beyond, you really start to, question like above. And I found myself saying a lot like, Lord, just stay by my side. And sometimes that's where you find peace, where things are just out of your control. You just got to realize, hey, it's out of my control. Let me do what I can do and just have faith that I'll get through it.
That's awesome. I like that. I like it a lot. Okay, Allan, how about you? You have a full plate.
Yeah.
Do you have time to remain calm?
So I have a full plate. I usually I get up at 5:30, and I'm starting on phone calls at 7:30, 8 o'clock. And many nights it's not till 10 or 11 o'clock that I'm finished between all the council stuff going on and some real estate. I wanted to share with everyone listening some thoughts, because I know you said, what would we pass on to some of the younger people on this call? And I'm listening and saying to myself, thank God we're all in residential real estate. Because if we were in commercial real estate, it's a nightmare. Just look at the rent collections. I can share with you my own personal situation. Rent collections for residential in my office were about 98 to 99% collected. Office, 95 to 97. Commercial retail, 20%. So wow, this is an example of what we should take back. We should be selling more and more investments for residential. It's the safest investment out there, because the last thing someone's going to give up is their home. Think about it. We should be really, Mike, I know you sell a lot of investments, and so do I. We should be selling more investments. This is for people listening. I'm going to tell you, if you haven't heard it, the living it, you create wealth owning it. We should encourage our agents to be buying real estate and residential real estate.
And that kind of goes back to the financial
good
wellness.
after GPAR.
Yeah. The financial wellness that kind of ties into it, learn from, the downturns. Like, it's an opportunity. It's a chance to double down, actually, in the downturn.
But when you think about it, Stephanie, what people will give up last is their home. You're going to get paid the rent on a home. You may not get it on a business, you may not get it on an office, but you will get, that'll be the last thing they don't pay. It's the most conservative in the real estate arena, in my opinion, is a residential home.
Allan, you bring up a good point, though, because one of the things that concerns me most about how we come out of this, my concern early on was going to be that everybody was going to have a credit score that went from 775 to 550, and everybody was going to have a line of credit that went from $5 million to $500,000, and how would we then be able to move forward? But I am now, and I was worried about whether there would be pent-up demand. It appears that there is pent-up demand, and I'm thrilled about that. And I also think that it will be incumbent upon the lending institutions to make sure that the lending systems are working, because, as we all know, credit is the lubricant of the economy. So we have to have that functioning if we're going to be strong coming into this recovery.
Stephanie, I'd like to say that, am I on mute or am I? I'd
No,
like to
you're
say
good.
that one of another aha moment for me over this time has been to really think about schools and homeownership in Philadelphia. I think the driving dynamic forces in Philly, it used to be homeownership. I think it still is. a driving force, but we've lost a huge percentage of homeowners in the city over the past 20 years. And I think that one of the things GPAR should focus on and realtors should focus on is serious, excellent pre-purchase counseling and getting Philadelphians into homeownership. Because if we spread the wealth and we spread the homeownership out, we're going to have a stronger tax base. I think we'll have more and more families that want strong public schools. We'll have more support for public schools, and jobs, of course, jobs. So that's what GPAR, that's what agents, that's what GPAR, Allan, what we should focus on is our residential association getting as many Philadelphians committed to Philadelphia and into homeownership. I think that that would be a huge, huge boost for the city and would level, there'd be more equity for more people. Homeownership creates freedom, it creates wealth, it creates community, it creates shelter, it creates safety. You can't be thrown out of your apartment. It creates family. So I would like to really press on with that for the next 10 years as a goal for this association.
Okay, Butter, I think we have the new chair for this task force. Got a new chair for the task force.
Wait, I have one solution also. This is a first step. Allan Domb for mayor. Man, I love watching him in council. I love watching his stuff. He's bringing business to the city, and that's what we need. Yeah.
Let me mention something else about. I approached city council this session with two goals in mind. One is to solve the budget without a tax increase, but two more importantly,
We lost him.
is to figure out how we invest in our citizens of the city in a technological way. So for example, we need to be mandatory teaching pre-K to 12th grade technology in every one of our schools. It is so important. And we need to help that workforce that is not technologically oriented to teach technology. It's more important than learning Spanish, for example, or some language. They need tech skills. This economy is about tech, and this pandemic has taught all of us. Look how much further we all are today than we were 3 months ago in technology. It's kind of amazing. So whatever we can do to push that, and Butter, with your goals, we need to push the technology in schools. It is so important. And we thank you for this call, and thank you for organizing this, Stephanie. And GPAR, very proud of all of you. You guys are doing amazing things, really. It's great. Bill, we're so proud of you as our president of PAR. Thank you.
Yes, Bill.
Yes,
Where is
we are.
Bill?
Yes, we
Where
are.
is
Bill.
he? Is he off mute? I want to talk to Bill.
He's on mute.
Okay, here I am.
Hi, Bill. Okay, Bill. So when this all went down, what was your first reaction, and how did you find that critical path? What was that critical path?
Well, I'm going to follow Frank Jacovini's lead and say my faith has kept me stable through this whole thing. Yeah, I don't think that there's anything that could shake me from my faith. So with that being said, the critical path, give that to me again. What was my...
So what was your PAR president, and we're completely shut down. And what was your first reaction? And what was your first, I don't know, your first step?
Our first step was, we've got to get the real estate industry open. Most everybody was saying that they were taking walks in the park and everything. I literally went to business meetings all day, every day. We even had meetings over Easter weekend. So the critical path from day one was the industry's got to get open. We were very surprised that the governor saw us as non-essential, and it was very frustrating not being able to get through to him. Nothing that we did was working. We had calls for action, and by the way, all of you guys have been amazing. Normally we get 4,000, 5,000 people on a call to action. We had 12,000 on the last call to action that we did. So the critical path was to get this business open, and I am just sorry that it took 60 days.
Well, I don't think there's any apologies. I mean, you worked really, really hard. I know, you know, the days, the hours that you put into it. And that being said, what did you do to remain calm? Did you have anything like a daily ritual that you did every day? Keep you
No,
centered?
unlike the one Mike that did yoga, or Greg that did yoga, I ate and I got the 10 pounds on, and I didn't exercise. And somehow I managed to get through it. But it's been a rough road. And by the way, we were talking about getting things started again. We are, Pennsylvania Association of Realtors is heavily supporting Senator Mensch's first-time homebuyer bill and Representative Rosemary Brown's first-time homebuyer bill. So one's running through the Senate, one's running through the House, and that will allow first-time homebuyers to save tax-free. So I don't want to go into all the details now, but it's a tax-free savings plan for people to purchase their first home.
Yeah, so that's been in the works for a while, right?
Yeah.
That's been in. So now we have some momentum going with that one.
Yeah, now we're open back up again. We kind of stopped everything during the shutdown to get everything open back up. But now, yes, we're putting a lot of effort behind that now.
Okay, cool. All right, guys, I'm going to ask this question to everybody, and it's kind of a two-part question. Who was the biggest influence on your career and why? And then I want to ask, what advice would you give someone brand new to the industry to be successful? So the first part is, who was your biggest influence? And there's a lot of people on here, and you might be their influence. So what advice would you give them? And let's start with Greg.
Probably my first broker was my first big influence. I was with him for 9 years. His name was Lee Cohen, and a lot of really great, Allan's smiling, a lot of great people came out of that office, great real estate agents and realtors. And he pulled me aside one day and said, son, you're going to make a real nice living in the business, but you'll never get any wealth unless you buy property. And he recommended that I send 2,000 letters to a neighborhood, and the first person that answers the letter buy the house. And I did. And that was, and I had already owned some property, not much at that point. And that really set my career off. And he had a lot of other great pieces of advice that I still to this day use, and helps keep me running. Of course, Allan was a great influence. He actually invited me to his office once. And when we were younger in the business, we shared some tech information. And but he invited me to his office, and I got to see how he actually operated. And that was unusual for somebody to allow you to step into their office and see. Back then, right, Allan, people were very selfish, and to see how you actually operated. So that was another one that really helped me a lot. There's a lot of people, but that's a good start.
And what advice would you give someone brand new to the industry
To
be successful?
Well, I think it's really, I think it was Frank said, or Lindsay, it's really persistence and perseverance and just getting up and working hard every day. I think, there a lot of people get into this business because they think it's easy. Sometimes we make it look easy. And so someone looking at us from the outside say, I could do this, it looks simple. And but we all know it's not. And I think that, it's really hard work. It's getting up at 6 in the morning, or as Allan, 5:30, and just really plowing through the day and making a list and plowing through your phone numbers and plowing through your emails and checking it off, and then just working it through. And I think it's that work ethic that eventually pans out. eventually it's going to come about. When I look at the faces I see here on my screen, I know everyone here can relate to that. So for me, it wasn't being, the best personality in the room, wasn't being the brightest guy in the room, or any of those things. It really was, I was just very persistent and had a good work ethic. And over the years, it paid off in spades for me. So.
Awesome. Very good. Okay, Butter, how about you? Who was your biggest influence on
Would
your
you restate?
career and why? Who was your biggest influence
I
on
thought
your
of, I
career
read
and
the,
why?
I thought about this last night and this morning because I saw the list of questions, and I want to say a couple things. One, hundreds of people have influenced me. I watch people, I observe them, I see the best in them, and I want that in myself. It started when I was very young. I'm an observer. I believe that I have tried my hardest to surround myself with the best people I know that I work with. I am so lucky to work with Katie McGrath, Paul Walsh, Asher Khan, Bob Elfant, Larry DeFranco, and the agents in our company. I feel so grateful. Hard workers, smart people. The other thing is that I couldn't do this alone. Some people can run their companies by themselves and they can do it alone. I'm not a loner, I'm a partner person. I've always known that. I was a health and phys ed teacher. I taught team sports, love teaching big groups, love working in groups. So I guess you just have to know yourself and know where your strengths are. And, we all should work on our weaknesses a little bit, but go with your strengths. So there was no one person that I felt was the influencer. It was many, many, many people. And just stay open to others' ideas, listen, volunteer. I guess one thing that was absolutely essential for me was being a volunteer at GPAR, and I'm not just doing that to schmooze GPAR, but I joined GPAR early on in my career, and if it wasn't for meeting the other presidents and the volunteers and the staff, I don't think I would have been able to help grow my business to the point I have. So that was a huge influencer, and I would tell agents, volunteer for your association and don't quit it.
Awesome. I like that. Thank you. Allan, how about you?
I would agree with Butter and everyone else before, but I would also say that, I'm looking on this call and I'm saying to myself, everyone on this call, I pretty much met through GPAR, through the networking of GPAR. I mean, would I have really known Bill Festa? I wouldn't have known him. He was in South Philly. I'm in Center City. I wouldn't have known him. I would have known Heather. Would have known Butter. Mike, I probably would have known. But Greg, I would have known. But Lindsay, I wouldn't have known. I mean, Barbara Capozzi, I probably wouldn't have known her if it wasn't for GPAR. Barbara's on this call, and I was her vice president when she was president. So when you think about it, the networking and the connections of GPAR, they're very powerful, very powerful. But I would say this, if I was giving advice, I would say always put your customer or client's interests first, and yours is second or third. If they are only going to come here for 2 or 3 years, then it might be better for them to rent. Tell them that, even though they want to buy. Tell them the absolute truth, because it'll come back to you tenfold down the road. I see that when I first started out, I would tell people, I don't think it's a smart idea for you to buy. It might be better for you to rent because you're only going to be here 2 years. And the cost of buying and selling are going to eat up any potential profit. People remember that. So I would say put their interests first, put yours second.
Any big influence on your career?
I'd say there've been several, from my wrestling coach, Vincent O'Brien, in high school. And by the way, a little story you probably don't know about me. I was on a wrestling team from 9th to 12th grade, and I wrestled 1 year in college. But in junior and senior year, I also was a janitor in an office building. After wrestling practice from 6:30 till 10:30, I cleaned offices Monday through Friday. And I'm so old, the minimum wage was $1.60 an hour back then. That's what I got paid to clean offices. So I'd say Vincent O'Brien. I would say Jay Lamont was also a big influence. And I would also say that what Butter said is true. There were so many people that influenced you. Mayor Rendell has influenced me politically and helped me dramatically. People like Jerry Sweeney have helped me. Paul Levy has helped me. Many people have helped me along the way. So I'm very grateful for that. I will say this, Governor Wolf, even though we say what we want to say about Governor Wolf, I like the guy. I remember sitting down with him 2 years ago for lunch, and he said to me, "You and I have something in common. We're a butcher and singer." And I said, "Really?" I said, "What is it?" He said, "We both don't need this job." And from that point on, I kind of like the guy a lot. Okay, that was a great comment by him. But and here's the lesson I think we learned from this whole issue. Whether we're Democrats or Republicans, we need to work together for the betterment of the city and of the state. We need to come together and work together. We can't be politically divided because it doesn't get anything done.
Agree. Well said. Well said. Okay, Bill, how about you? Who
Give
was
me
the
the question
biggest
again.
influence? Okay, so who was the biggest influence on your career and why? And what advice would you give someone brand new to the industry?
Without a doubt, Allan Domb was the biggest influence in my career.
Aw.
Seriously, he would, and you know what, let me just shift gears a little bit. Being involved in GPAR and PAR, but mostly GPAR, was probably the biggest influence on my life as well. Just, people don't realize this, but you can go to school all you want. You learn from rubbing shoulders with Allan Domb, with Mike McCann, with Frank Jacovini, and just being in meetings, just hearing them talk, just observing, like Butter would say. Butter. No, does anybody remember when Butter told Frank DiCicco off in a meeting in South Philly, and she made him apologize to all the realtors that were in the room?
No.
So, that was a long time ago. Maybe she'll tell you that story sometime. But if I had to make it one person, it would be Allan
Sounds like
Domb.
butter.
But in reality, it's being a member of an association and just being able to glean little bits of advice from everybody, and then you internalize it. And I think that's awesome. And doing the same thing with PAR now.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Thank you for that. Okay, Heather, how about you? Who was the biggest influence on your career and why? And what advice would you give somebody new to the industry?
So I was born in a real estate family. So first of all, I just want to come out and say I'm the youngest person on this entire panel. All right, I just want that to be said. All right, I am also the youngest president ever in the history of GPAR. Sorry, Allan, you can stand down now. But when I first started in this, so my parents were in real estate. My father was director of real estate for the city, and one would think that he was my influence, and unfortunately for him, he was not, because he often turned me over to somebody who he felt I was better suited to learn from, somebody who walked the line, knew the information, and was an encyclopedia. Before computers and the MLS of listings. This is back when the MLS book existed. That this person was the go-to person, and from the first time I met this person in my career until probably till the day I move on, I have always looked up and worshiped the ground that this person walks on, and it forced to be reckoned with. Doesn't back down, says their mind, knows what they're doing, loves their job, loves the people, and loves to educate. And they are really the person to blame for me and where I am, for being a president at GPAR, because I was told, I don't know the answer by my father, so go call Butter. So Butter is my idol. She's my idol.
Aww.
She's the one that I follow, because of her, I'm in the position I'm in. Because of her, I take every opportunity to educate someone anytime that there's a question, because she took the time to educate me as a kid, to say, and this was back 1996 when the seller's property disclosure first came out, and what it meant to threshold someone and what it meant to represent someone. She's the one who actually taught me. We didn't work for the same company. We worked for two, competing brokerages, but she took the time to teach me and mentor me, whether she knew it or not, and that's who I wanted to be. I wanted to be Butter. And I would tell my father, I don't want to be you. I want to be Butter. So we called it better butter. And it was always, so then, you know, I always liked that. I always looked up to her, that she was the one that I wanted to be like. So she was president, I had to be president. You know,
There you go.
you know, she worked on forums, I had to work on forums. She went toe to toe with politicians. I may or may not have slammed my fist on Ellen and I's desk, you know, but whatever. You know, but she's my mentor. She's really my idol. It's really what it is. She, no wrong in my eyes. And for newbies coming in, chin up. Today might be tough. You know, it might have hit you in the gut. You know, you might not have liked what you heard. You might have gotten knocked down, but guess what? Tomorrow the sun rises, the day changes, and it's a whole new world. Take it on the chin, lift your head up, put your shoulders back. You know, it's a whole new day. It's rough. You know, you're not going to win everything. You know, you're not going to win everything, and follow your gut. Definitely follow your gut. If it feels wrong, then it must be wrong. So.
Awesome. Great words. Great words. Okay, Frank, how about you? Who was the biggest influence on your career and why?
You know, I actually have a strange answer for you.
Okay.
The day I passed my real estate exam, I went home and opened up the Daily News, and there was an article about then President Ed Anderson in the paper. He was Philadelphia president. I won't go into Ed Anderson too much. He ran afoul of some trouble. But that article really struck me. And coming from living in South Philadelphia, where almost everybody is in a union of some sort, I had this union mentality. And when I seen that article, I said, that's it. That's what I want to do. I want to be the president of the Philadelphia Board of Realtors one day. And you know, for those who know me, like I said earlier, I'm not a big producer. My bones in this business have been being a real estate industry influencer. You know, participating with the local, state, and now some national association work. So he was the one that sort of influenced my career, because if I didn't see that article, I probably wouldn't have made that goal to be the president of the Philadelphia board. And my advice to anybody getting into this business would be to participate with your local association on some level. Attend a meeting, attend a seminar, get on a committee. There's got to be 10 or 12 people on this call that have all influenced my career in some way. Bill Festa, watching him run out in the morning going on expired listings and knocking on doors. Allan, Domb providing insight into a different world of real estate in Center City to me. Greg Damis, Mike McCann, who called me 10:30 at night one night saying, I just left the seller's house and closed your deal. And I hung up the phone saying, is he nuts? It's 10:30 at night. But all these people have influenced me in some way. And anybody getting into this business, you need to get involved with the association for the education that you'll derive, the free education that you'll derive from participating with your association, and never stop learning. Every day there's something new you can learn in this business. After 28 years, I'll still shake my head and say, wow, I didn't see that coming. There's always something new to learn in this business. And I think that's where your success will lie. Keep educating and get involved and network with these great people that are on this call.
Awesome. Thank you, Frank. Okay, Lindsay, your turn.
I think that my two biggest influence have been both two great women who are, neither of us are still with us. Jan Bai, who was the wife of Arthur Bai, the broker at Urban and Bai, or back when I was there, Bai Real Estate. And Jan could close anybody, anywhere, anytime. To look at her, she was just this sweet little lady. But boy, she had a killer instinct that was second to none. And it wasn't that she was highly ethical. She was always highly ethical, but she just knew how to close. And she did not, if she had a deal, that deal was getting to the table. So it was A, her ability to put a deal together, and B, her ability to keep a deal together. And then the other influence would have been my late wife, who was she was a real estate attorney. She had 3 degrees from Harvard. She was at Wolf Block. And so I had my license for 3 years when I opened up my own brokerage. I wasn't one of those people that had been in the business forever. So when I opened up my own brokerage, I was still probably pretty green. But I also learned to put my ego in my back pocket and listen to her. And I'm listening to a real estate attorney from the best real estate law firm in the city, giving me hours of free advice for picking up the kids from daycare that morning. So my ability to put my oversized ego in my back pocket and listen and learn from her. She was a huge influence on my life and really gave me the ability to see real estate from a legal, a business, and just to 360 it all. Advice I would give to the newbie would be from day one, start a database. Be religious about your database. And the two things that you need to protect, one is your reputation, and the other is your mojo. Because we've all probably had different levels of burnout. And when we burn out, when we lose that level of confidence, that self-assurance, they all know it. We know it. And I tell you, my feeling is that it affects our performance. And so at all times, just hold on to your mojo. What makes you you? And how do you do that? Be true to yourself at all times.
Very good. I like that. I like it a lot. Thank you, Lindsay. Okay, Mike, it's you. Who was the biggest influence on your career? Why? And what advice do you have for the newbie?
My mom, she taught me to love everybody unconditionally. First step. Second one, I worked my head off because we were poor. And I said, I don't want to live like this. And I used to say to her, Mom, I wish I could have a job where the harder you work, the more you can make. Because I was always the hardest worker and I got moved up. No matter what, I was a dishwasher, it didn't matter what I did. I worked in the sewers and I met this guy, James B. Marion III, selling vacuum cleaners in 1979. Interest rates were 21%. The economy was in collapse. It was a bad time in the country. And he showed me entrepreneurial. And I was like, oh, you mean the harder I work, the more I can make? And this gentleman, instead of getting his law degree, built this great wealth, but he was a motivator. And then that burned out after about 3.5 years. I was pretty young. Then my friends started to buy real estate, and I took a class at Temple Real Estate, and I met Allan Domb. And I remember, I think it was 89. I was like the second full year in the business. And Allan Domb said, Mike, now this is before teams buy it. If you don't have an assistant, you are an assistant. Mike, you build wealth owning, you make a living selling real estate, you build wealth owning real estate. And Allan at one point was the #1 agent in America. And he taught me specialization. So Allan's, for real estate, the biggest motivator. And Greg, maybe he let you in his office free to follow him because he used to let people shadow him. I think Stewart paid him $1,000 or $500. But anyway, but just to watch his action, just to watch his actions from afar. So Allan was a big influencer, and I respect him. And when I did get involved with the board very early, I think it was 88, I did a grievance committee, chaired the grievance committee, sat on the grievance committee. I helped the board before it went from, I went to California at the NAR convention and saw they had the multiple listing on a computer. This was probably 87. And I went back and we were just Jonathan Green and Cheryl something. And I was involved in getting the multiple, Scott, yeah, you're shaking your head. Scott, and we helped get the board from the book onto the computer, which was pretty cool, man. I remember I bought a laptop computer in '89 for $4,500, a laptop in 1989. Anyway, the advice that I would give to people in real estate is it's the greatest business in the history of the world. If you love people, if you want to be important in people's lives, that's what I love about it. I'm very important in people's lives. Like I think it was Allan said, is customer first. I remember in the downturn of 1990, 91, that savings, I told people, don't sell, the market's going down. Thinking I was doing what was best. Actually, that market continued to go down. That was the worst time we ever had in real estate. It was a real estate depression that lasted 6-7 years. But doing what you believe is best for the client, being important in their life. It's the greatest business. No one can lay me off. No one can tell me how much I can make. No one can retire me. But if you don't love people and you don't want to be available 24/7, like Frank said, before a DocuSign and stuff, I mean, I'd be going on listings 5:30 and 7:30 and then closing deals 9, 10, 9:30, 10, going to people's houses to sell them out. You got to love the business, and you never, and Allan told me this too, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And those are just things. So you look up and you get inspired. And like Butter said, there are so many people in the industry I looked up. Kathy Conway, Joanne David, like a lot of people that were doing. And I thought, my vacuum guy taught me this. He used to say, Mike, if he can do it, you can do it. So I look at these top agents, and I didn't even felt like I belonged in the 80s because I wasn't part of that cultural club or social club. And I remember saying, like, oh, if they could do it, I could do it. James B. Murray told me that. I'm just going to work. And like Frank said, you work every day. You got to love what you do, or you shouldn't be in real estate. You should be like something else. So it's the greatest business in the world. And the problem is the entry level is too easy. Most successful realtors make more than doctors. Doctors are way more important in life, really, than us. And we say, people are going crazy. No one's dying here. We're not on the operating table. We'll get through this. But in real estate, it's 3 months of something and you can get in pretty easily. And people want to come in and become rich in the first month. I underpromise and overdeliver. The greatest businesses takes 2 to 3 years to get your feet wet. And then if you love the business and you really help people and you bring value, I love that I've made a lot of people wealthy through my safe investment. Like Allan said, I would tell people, buy a home a year, buy a home every 2 years and hold it, and you can build wealth or rehab it. So helping people is the greatest thing. My biggest goals today is I love, and it's funny, Heather, you're the youngest one here. I was looking at this thing. I'm like, man, we need a voice of some young people on here. You know what I mean? But my greatest thing today is helping young people get into business and grow and be successful and help other people through hard work, ethics, patient persistence. And I'll keep rambling, so I'm going to shut up. But greatest business in the world if you love people. That's my summary.
Thank you. Well, gosh, we've gone almost 2 hours now with this, and it has been a thrill talking to everybody. I want to thank everyone for their input. We had a lot of people on here, and I know all of you have been a big influence in my life and my career, and has really shaped where I am now as a president. So I thank you all for that, and I'm grateful for all of you. So with that, I am going to turn this over to Matt, and once again, thank you all.
Thank you, Stephanie. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you to all our panelists. You guys are awesome. On Monday, we kick off the week as we do every week during this pandemic with Coffee Talk with President Stephanie Biello. So we have a special guest. This just got lined up while we were actually on this Zoom chat. We're going to have State Senator Larry Farnese joining us with our President Stephanie on Monday morning. He's in a hotly contested race for his district. He's got a Democratic challenger, and probably good timing to have him in and have a cup of coffee and talk about why he's a viable candidate and the things that he offers to his constituents here in Philadelphia. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us for Coffee Talk. Keep an eye. We'll send an email out at some point Friday or Saturday with the details of what's coming up next week. So with that, thank you to all of our panelists. Thanks to everybody for tuning in and joining us on this. A great conversation. Have a great night, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Love
you.
it.
All right, thanks, Matt. Thanks, guys.
I'm going to hug
Thank you.
each and every one of you when I can.
I know, I
Yeah.
can't wait.
Yeah, whatever.
I miss all of you.